The U-Trips offense is one of the best offenses in all of Madden 26, and this is also known in Madden 26 as the Y off trips close formation. This is in a couple of different playbooks. You can run this out of Atlanta. You can run this out of the Chargers playbook. I believe it's also in the Patriots playbook. I think the Chargers is the best playbook for this, unless you're wanting to run a little bit more of what Atlanta has to offer. The reason why I think that the Chargers playbook is so good with this specific scheme is because you have this trips tied in. It's a really good trips tied in. It's amazing for the red zone. You have the quarterback zone, the RPO bubble. You have the verticals play, which is super good. This also, I believe, has the China play, China wide post. This is a must-have play, in my opinion. It's super, super good. So I just think that honestly, Chargers better all-around playbook. It also has the bunch strong and the bunch X nasty, really two great formations in this game. It has a lot of good formations, but ultimately, I think Chargers is the best playbook to be running this formation with. Now, that being said, as far as how we like to set this up, what we typically going to do from an audible perspective, the main audibles that I would say are like must-have audibles. I think that a basic run is always good to have, and they have a good one. The halfback power, super valuable run play. You also have a draw, and the draws can be pretty good this year as well. And then what I would do as far as this, I think deep slot curl is a must-have play in your playbook. Very important to have this one. Tight end whip, another just staple of U-Trips every year. Such a good play. So many things you can do with it. Scat, honestly, not as good as it was. It was really, really good in the beginning of the year. Got a little bit worse as the year went on. You could put these motion plays in here. I really like motion empty halfback sluggo. There's a lot you can do with this play. And then we'll just come out in the play that I would run the most, which is the Y option wheel. I think it's the best play in the formation. And we'll just show you as we audible through these plays. You see how nobody moves. It doesn't give you anything pre-snap that you need to worry about. But this motion empty sluggo play is extremely, extremely valuable. And then you also have the run. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about real quick with the run game is, as you see right there, it is a relatively slow handoff. The reason being is because U-Trips is not an offset based formation. It is a standard formation. And so when you run this formation, you want to run this formation with your trips to the wide side of the field. So for example, as you see here, the ball is on the left hash. So my trips are to the wide side of the field, which is to the right. However, let's say that the ball was on the right hash. If the ball is on the right hash when running this formation, you want to flip this in your play call screen, and you just do that by hitting the right trigger. That would flip the play at the play call screen. And then now you see that you have the proper spacing that we want for this formation. Now, let's say that you're in the middle of the field and you want to run the ball to get to a hash mark, right? It's a very popular strategy. What you want to do when you want to run the ball, and this is really for any time you want to run the ball to U-Trips, you don't have to do this. You can run it just like this. But if you want to get a better handoff, what you want to do is you want to hand the ball off on the right-hand side. So once you're running back to the right-hand side, if your quarterback is right-handed. If your quarterback is left-handed, then you would want your running back to the left. But by having your running back on the same side as your quarterback throwing hand, it'll make this handoff significantly faster, and it makes the run significantly better, in my opinion. So that is a super important piece of information regarding the U-Trips offense. I hope you enjoy this breakdown. And if you're looking to take your Madden game to the next level, you want full offensive and defensive ebooks for both Madden and for college football, you can get unlimited access to all of our ebooks by joining our school community today for just $10. And that link is going to be down in the top of the description below. One of the most important things for the U-Trips offense that you need to make sure you do every single game is go into your coach adjustments and go down to your auto pass protection. And you can really go between a couple different pass protections, but I think in general, the best pass protection right now is empty. You could also use base if you prefer that, but I do think empty pass protection is the best pass protection in Madden 26. For this setup of the play Y option wheel out of the gun Y off trips close formation, all we're going to do is put our tight end on a corner route. What that's going to do is that's going to create a natural kind of high low to the right hand side with a clear out. So what we have is we have this clear out fade, we have a high read, which is going to be our corner route, and we have a low read, which is going to be our flat route. On the back side of the play, we have a post wheel combination, going to be really good against different types of man coverage, any kind of blitz, anything like that. So as far as this, always going to kind of quick peek this wheel just see if this can kind of get quick separation if they're not hard flatting. Hopefully, you don't fumble the ball. But we're just going to always kind of quick peek this wheel route here to the left side because it can be a nice rack catch where you can get some easy yardage on the play. If they're not hard flatting, that's going to force them to hard flat. Also going to also kind of peek over here to the right. As you see here, you have this flat. If they're not hard flatting, you can take that flat as well. But what most people are going to do in this game is they're going to hard flat. They're going to play cover 4 hard flat. And so that's going to look something like this. And this is why this play is so good, because if they switch stick to either side, you have answers. Another big value of this play. So what we have here, and let me make sure that we don't get chipped, hopefully. But basically what we have here is your tight end corner. If he runs clean, he's going to get that separation, kind of right in that little window. Show that one more time. And again, the only thing downside is he can get chipped depending on the defense, but for the most part, he's going to do a good job. Gets that separation right there. And if they switched it down to that, let's say, for example, they switch it down, and practically speaking, it would look something like this. Then what you're going to be able to do is if they switch it down late in the play, you're going to have this fade over the top if they're in a cover 3, cover 4 situation. Now, if they are playing a true cover 2, like a Tampa 2, this throw right here is kind of tight. So I'll show that real quick. So like if they're playing like a true cover 2 drop, this safety on the deep half does a good job this year of getting out on this whole shot. As you see, it's just not really a throw that you can have. So you want to kind of stay with your high-low. We'll have other ways to attack cover 2 in this offense, but in general, that's not the best way to attack cover 2. So anyway, when I see that right there, I just want to kind of get backside and, still look for that post. What's nice about that post is that post will run basically all the way across the field and get great separation across pretty much any defense in the game. So whether it's cover 2, as I just showed you, or it's like just a basic cover 4, if you have time in the pocket, this post is going to get wide open. So, if they switch stick over here to the tight end side, then you can throw this post, kind of right there. A couple different windows of which you can throw the post. What's nice about this too is if they're not, a lot of times you're going to get shaded down hooks. You're going to get, because of this formation, it's the way that it works, you're going to get shaded down hooks. You're going to get different things like that. And so this little throw right here is going to be wide open. And you can hit that when they switch stick to the corner. So one of the most popular ways for somebody to switch stick this formation is to switch stick to like the hook curl or whatever to take away that corner. And then you can just throw this right in the backside. This play also has some answers against man-to-man. So if they're playing any kind of like cover 0 style, what a lot of people do is they might do something like this right here, where they have that hard flat on the left side, but they're not really manning up the running back. In that situation here, your running back wheel could be an option if they're not going to play him in man-to-man coverage. The other thing, though, is let's say they do play him in man-to-man coverage, then your tight end and post, basically. So you're going to get to this tight end corner, and you're going to get to this post. So we'll see here. This post is one of my favorite routes in the game. It just destroys man coverage, destroys zone coverage. You can throw it in. It just gets in so many soft spots of defenses. That's why I like it so much. I think it's just one of the best routes in the game, if not the best route in the game. They have to, if they play man coverage, they have to use the post. And so because they have to use the post when they play man coverage, then this tight end corner a lot of times will win to the outside horizontally. It is a little worse than the post in terms of man-to-man separation. But another thing that a lot of people will do is they'll actually shade their defense to the inside. And when they do something like that, that's going to give you a lot of answers with this post or with this corner, because they'll take a natural step to the inside. So you'll see here, your outside leverage throw is a little bit more open. Sometimes you get KO'd, but generally speaking, this is just one of the best ways to attack man coverage. And then if they play you in like press man-to-man situation or anything like that, your deep outside fade has a great chance to be able to get over the top of that if they don't have safety help. Shout out to Mahomes, just making some fantastic throws here. See if we can actually hit this corner route for you one time. But a lot of times they will stay to the inside, and a lot of times they will also stay on that other route. All right, Mahomes just can't make this throw, I guess. Shout out to Set Feet Lee. They broke it. Hit this one time. Love to hit this corner route for you. Let's just throw it. Boom. There you go. Boom. Money. So corner route, post are really the main two reads, and then your wheel route is typically going to be thrown as if they bust a coverage, or your fade will be thrown if everything breaks down. For the setup of the play, Y option wheel out of the Y trips close formation, we're going to streak the tight end and drag the slot receiver. So relatively quick setup here. And essentially what we're doing is we're trying to create a high-low read in the middle of the field, okay? So what effectively we're going to get here is this constraint or strain on the yellow zones in the middle of the field. And we're going to basically try to read this play from our seam streak to our drag to our post. So we're looking at that seam streak. You see that yellow zone kind of climb with that. So you want to dump that down right to your quick drag over the middle of the field. So show that again and again. As long as you don't get chipped super bad, it's pretty good play, as you see right there. If you do get chipped, it's not the end of the world. But basically what's going to happen is if they don't climb with your tight end, so let's say they shade down, because the shade down is the only way to stop the other route, then your tight end seam is going to get open kind of in that little pocket. And then let's say that like the drag, let's say they take this guy right here, right, and they really lurk down hard on the drag route underneath, then what you're going to be able to do is your wheel route will pull out the hook or the curl flat, and then you could throw that post in that back alley that is available to you. Also, let's say late in the play that they kind of climb with this running back wheel route, then you have kind of an underrated high-low between your drag and your wheel route based on how the players are going to be, how the defense ultimately decides to defend it. Now, if it's like cover for hard flat, for example, then typically what's going to happen here is this is going to be the most open throw on the field, that post right there in that little pocket, going to be really, really good for you, and you're going to have a lot of answers with that. And then another thing that a lot of people like to do when they're playing U trips is they'll play like cover 3 cloud, so it might look something like this. If they play something like this against you, especially if they shade down in their hooks, this post route is going to be wide or not post, the seam streak to the inside there. See how that's going to get into a nice little spot. And this is also, if they don't put their safeties in the middle of the field, but a lot of people are going away from that. So like let's say cover 3 cloud like this. Got 2 yellows, 2 flats. You see that this tight end seam streak kind of just gets in the soft spot right here and can be thrown over the top. So it kind of just depends on how they user it. A lot of times what ultimately is going to happen though is they're going to hard flat, but they're going to take this guy right here and they're going to actually user him effectively like a deep middle zone, because he'll play like the post and the streak. Again, this is just dependent a little bit on how they ultimately decide to play, but generally it's going to be something like this. And then on the back end of this, you might get like a cover 2, and normally people send 4, so they won't have another yellow. But anyway, what happens is if they climb with the post, then this drag gets open because the running back pulls the flat to the sideline, and then you could throw that underneath. So it's just a very simple play, very good play for quick snap situations and things like that. This is also really good if they are playing you in any kind of cover 2 man. So what makes this really good against man coverage is your tight end streak, as you see right there, he beats the defender off the line, and then you can basically pass this up. The deep halves are going to they're going to pull to the sideline significantly this year. So you can throw that seam streak against a cover 2 man if you get that separation, okay? And again, it's a very, very high level read, in my opinion, against, cover 2 man, just because, people don't call cover 2 man expecting something like this to be open. But if they fall asleep, a lot of times this thing can just beat it. Now, you kind of got to look at the defender, because sometimes the defender can be a little close. Like he won't get burned as bad. And in that situation, then, you need to kind of get off the read. Like right there, that would be an example that I just showed where, the seam streak wasn't winning by enough. And so if it's not winning by enough, then, you see like right here, this would be an example of it winning by enough routes, but Mahomes actually underthrew that. But anyway, it's at least worth a look. And you can also throw this a little earlier. It depends a little bit on how they user it. Again, the user is going to kind of tell you, especially man coverage, hard to switch stick and man, but like, let's see, like right there, you see, I could just like quick throw that seam. But anywho, that is an option that you have a lot of times. And typically that's enough to kind of scare them from a user perspective into having their user climb with that seam streak normally. So then what naturally happens is they climb to the seam streak, and so my drag underneath gets wide open, and it's one of the best routes to be able to throw on the play. And then the post, let's say the user, oh, he snaps down on the drag because he sees the drag winning, and maybe they do something like this on the backside or whatever. Then your post route becomes a great answer against man coverage. Typically, got pressured there. We'll see if we can get that post route to be. We showed this a little bit, but I think this is just one of the best man beating routes in the game. Is this post? See right on the break, boom. And it's just a great answer for you against man. This setup of the play option wheel, it's a great horizontal strain that's going to take advantage of hard flats and really just be able to space the field well horizontally. So what I like to do on the setup is we are going to swing route the running back, slant the tight end, in route the outside trips receiver. So it looks like this, again, a very horizontal based passing concept, but does have good answers against man coverage. So what a lot of people are going to do is they're going to play cover 4 hard flat or cover 3 hard flat. Those are the two most popular coverages. So what you're going to be able to get here is these quick reads. First one to this little in route right here in this little tight window right there. The hook curl is going to suck to the middle of the field. And so because he sucks into the middle of the field, you're going to have that little window there to hit that quick throw there. And it's kind of hard to guard. Like, even if you have like a cover 2, sometimes this hook curl will still kind of go to the middle of the field. We'll see if he does right here. Yeah, see how he goes inside just enough, and you can throw that. Sometimes there'll be more of a KO chance against cover 2, but you see the idea. The hook curls will go to the middle of the field, which opens up the throwing lane to throw this, kind of quick little in route. So show it to you one more time against cover 2. And you see how it goes inside. Make that throw right there, and we're getting a knockout. So, anywho, if they play cover 4 hard flat, the other element of this play that we have that's really, really good is the slant route. So the running back swing route pulls the flat down, and then the slant route gets open in this little pocket right there. So really, really nice play, primarily for when they're hard flatting, to be able to take advantage of the hard flat and be able to give yourself consistent separation against that. The other element of this is, let's say they don't hard flat. So let's say playing curl flats or playing a little more backed off. The in route will be a little bit more open. So you'll see here on the curl flat, they'll still go out there. This guy's still more open. You see how that hook curl really now like significantly shades to the middle of the field. So a great answer if they're not hard flatting will be to throw that little quick in. It's really hard to use with that, honestly, as well. But you will see that the tight end will not be as open. As you see right there, he's not super open in that. But your little running back swing route here, as you see, look over there, you see that. You can kind of throw that with a pass lead up, and a lot of times that can turn into 5-ish yards. So again, this is truly a very horizontal concept. So if they do run cover 2, because cover 2 is going to be the play that you're going to have to look out for. So if they do run cover 2, what oftentimes happens in a cover 2 is you could throw this little in route late in the play, right in that little area, because you're also creating a high-low over the middle of the field. So let's say the user kind of snaps down and he uses the user kind of snaps down, which is rare. He'll normally play the post. But if he does snap down on this in route over the middle, then you can high point this post and kind of get that into a nice area of the field right there to be able to attack the defense. So you have that answer as well. And then what about like man coverage? So what I like about this play is a lot of people call cover 0 with 2 hard flats most of the time. So if they're calling cover 0 with 2 hard flats, then what's going to happen is this tight end slant is going to be in a good position to be able to beat man coverage, as you see over there on the side. And then the other thing that you have as a nice answer for man coverage, if let's say the user decides, okay, I want to snap to the tight end and like carry the tight end across the middle of the field or whatever, then what's going to happen here is your post is going to be isolated and left open over the middle. So don't call this play a crazy amount, but it's a great horizontal strain if you want to kind of have a nice short yardage play that does have some good answers, especially against man coverage. It's a great red zone play as well out of U-trips. This is just one of my favorite ways to attack. Now, the other thing here is let's talk about a little bit about cover 2 man. So if you get this cover two man. A lot of times the route that you're going to hit is going to be the post. It's the best man beating route on the play, but your tight end slant is still going to be there. What's nice about cover two man, if you ever play it, is they don't have the ability really to put two hard flats on the field to take away anything from the slant. Like they can't put two curl flats or anything like that. So like your slant's just going to be wide open over here, and it's just a great way to be able to attack, man coverage within a play. Ultimately, if you ask, what's the hardest coverage to beat, I would say it's honestly the cover two, a good cover two. The problem is, though, way most people run cover two is they're going to actually have like a blitzer here. So they'll typically have a 7-4. And so when you get that right there, then what normally happens is this in route right in that little pocket gets wide open. And then if the user stays down on that, then you're going to be able to hit them over the top. With the setup of Y option wheel, we're going to be focusing in on the running back wheel route and its ability to attack a variety of coverages in Madden 26. So what we're going to be doing out of this one is we're going to flat this solo wide receiver, and we're going to have that seam wheel, really effective route combo there. And then on the right-hand side, what I like to do is zig route the tight end. I'm going to take this outside bunch or outside trips receiver, and we're going to put him in route, and we're going to stem him up at least 2 times. You could do 3 times as well, but you want a deep in coming over the middle of the field. And then as far as read progression on this play, really what we're looking for are these flats. Then we're looking at the wheel or the zig, and we're going to work that in route as kind of our late read in the play. So what you're going to see is against most zone defenses, this seam wheel is going to do a great job of being able to kind of just get in the soft spot of the defense that's really, really hard to defend. It's better than a standard wheel route. It's a little bit sharper of a cut. It's going to get into, like I said, that kind of soft spot. This is cover 4 curl flat. So even a curl flat is going to struggle to defend it. Now, a cover 4 hard flat is going to maybe even do just a little bit better of a job. We'll take a look at it here, but what you're going to see is, see how those yellows kind of stay in the middle of the field, and those deep zones, they stay back enough that you're just going to be able to kind of pop this into that soft area of the field. And then if they run like a cover 2, for example, then what we'll see here is like the hook curls again. See how those hook curls, they just go really inside. And basically the only way to stop this is to shade those yellow zones outside or to use like a vertical hook. So if I play cover 2 and I shade this guy to the outside, you're going to see he might do a little bit better of a job here. I'm going to shade him out. And you see, nope, still going to be just a money route right there. Boom. Now, the one thing that can happen is, as you just saw, the cloud flat can kind of carry this wheel route. And so if that ever happens, all you need to do is, just recognize, oh, he's going to carry that. And then I'm just going to hit this flat on the curl and just take that, kind of easy, natty type play, real simple. And then also, if they're not shading their yellow zones down, because you pretty much universally, most people are not going to stem their zones. They're going to either shade them down or they're going to shade them up, right? And so you're going to get symmetrical play from the yellow zones. And so if the yellow zone carries on the left, then that means, your in route is going to get open here on the backside. So it's a really nice play. A lot of fumbles going down here. Really, really nice play to be able to kind of attack the yellow zones. And again, just create kind of those high-low constraints. So for example, let's say they shade those yellow zones down. This could be out of anything. Cover 4, it could be cover 3, cover 2, doesn't really matter. If they put the hook curls on a low like setting, like 5 or whatever, you're going to see here that in route can get thrown. We can get a little better throw from Mahomes there, but you can get this in route to be thrown, kind of right over the top. Another thing you could do, kind of a variation of this play, because if you don't want to have to deal with the press animation that sometimes the cover 2 can give you, what you can do is you can do the slot receiver. So you can stem the slot receiver up like this, and then I would just put a quick out right here to the outside. So you kind of get the same thing, but you just get this route coming from a different player over the middle of the field. That right there is why I would go ahead and get it up even more than what I already had it up. So because sometimes these yellow zones on 5 can play a stemmed up in route if it's only stemmed up once or twice. So that's why I would say at least 3 times, because this super deep in route, these yellow zones, when they're shaded down, you're going to see here, now there's no real chance of them playing it. He's, wide open over the middle. So anyway, I would go ahead and stem him up 3 times. And then as far as like cover 4 or cover 3 hard flat, when you get something like this, 1, 2, 3 times on the in route, and then, you go through your read progression here. Number 1, your zig's open. But you see how those deep quarter zones, because of this running back wheel, the deep quarter zones will all back up just because you have a vertical threat. So because you have a vertical threat, then the quarter zones will kind of sink even deeper. So you'll see here, if we got time in the pocket, see how that inside quarter is not playing it. Now, of course, can they switch stick that? Yeah, they can switch stick that. But you got so many other quick reads on the play, it's going to be hard for them to really do that. Now, as good as play is against zone, it's not amazing against man. I'll say that right out of the gate here. It's not amazing against man. If you get man coverage, the main thing you're gonna try to get to is your in route or your zig. The running back route can kind of be thrown, but it's you know what I mean? Like it's like you're gonna need a good pass lead, and if you mess it up, it could be a pick. So I would just not worry too much about throwing the running back against man coverage. If they shade underneath and they don't have safety help over the top, then yes, the wheel route will win. But that's not something you're going to see a ton. So the main read against man is the running or the tight end route right there. That quick zig, really good against man coverage. And then the other little thing is, let's say they, they're like, oh, now I'm going to take that zig away. I'm going to snap down on the zig. Then I would be looking for this in route here over the middle. And sometimes this wins, sometimes it doesn't. But passing this down and inside, possession catch that. The setup of the play, Y option wheel, very simple combination. It's our main setup when we want to block somebody. And this is our effectively smash return play in this formation. So what we're going to do is we're going to block the running back. We're going to drag the tight end, and we're going to return route the little slot receiver right here. Very simple read progression here. If you wanted to, you could put the running back on a swing route to the right side. Nothing wrong with that. Even putting the running back on an in route, totally fine. But really, I just think it's best just block the running back, get a little bit extra protection, and understand essentially what we're doing here is it's a very easy play to read, and it has answers against every coverage in the game. That's why I like it so much. So what we're always looking for first, we're always looking at this tight end drag. Because if these yellows back up like this, we want to just throw this tight end drag underneath. What that does is that forces them to shade underneath. They have to shade underneath. And even if they play cover two, they pretty much have to shade underneath. What's nice about this play, even though they're going to shade underneath here, they're going to shade these yellow zones underneath, but they normally are going to cloud flat over there on the left side. If they cloud flat you and you have this tight end drag, it's a really valuable route because this is going to push that cloud flat vertical like that, and then you get this throw on the sideline, and you see how that's an easy 12 to 15 yards. So the bottom line is they have to have a shaded down hook and a hard flat on that left side to be able to defend this play properly. So what you're going to get normally is you're going to get a shaded down, cover four style defense, which then in turn, now you have your high-low between your tight end drag and your post. So you see these yellows kind of snap down. You want to hit that read. That is always your second read. It's that high-low between the drag and the post route that you're looking to hit on this play. Now, what typically is going to happen is that is going to then lead into switch sticking and them trying to get over adjusted chase things and things like that. So that's where our alternate receiver, our check down receiver, is going to be this return route. So if for whatever reason they're able to get to the post through switch sticking the deep blues, you always want to look backside of this return route. I love U-trips because in U-trips or wild trips, close to what this is now called, it's just such a good, the formation has such good spacing that you can actually throw, look at that hook curl get pulled, and then I can throw it in between the hook curl and the hard flat without actually having to have a flat route. I think that is extremely valuable, and it really sets this formation apart. So for example, if I go cover two, which is one of the best ways to defend, smash return, is to play cover two and then basically use the mid read. It's not really going to stop this play. You're going to see how I can kind of just throw that return route over there on the right side. It's still going to be open in a pocket, and I think that's what makes this such a good play. Is it's so simple. Now you can also leave the running back wheel on the play. The reason you would leave this running back wheel is if you thought you were getting hard flatted, you could throw that running back wheel over the top of it right there, like you saw. I don't think you necessarily need to do that, but it is something that you do have. And so, just wanted to quickly highlight that. It's like a variation of the play. But ultimately, what I love about this is that a shaded down hook zone is not really going to stop this, and you can still throw it in these windows. So I think this just really makes U trips a really hard cover. And then the other thing about it is I really want to stress, because we're leaving the outside receiver on the streak or the clear out route, the post will be open all the way across the field. So you can really, wait on this route. You can throw it all the way over here, even against the cloud flat. So one of the great features of U-Trips is really this route, and it just has so many answers against man coverage. This short post route is just a money route in this game. So let's say we get man coverage. What's our first read? Our tight end drag every single time, and our tight end drag 99% of the time is going to win against man coverage. So what do they have to do? They have to put a hard flat over there. Now, we have other setups that will take advantage of when they do put the hard flat over there. But let's say they do put a hard flat over there. They're playing real good man coverage, but maybe they have a bad user, or they make a mistake or whatever in coverage. Well, now your post route has a lot of space to be able to work over that middle of the field. Really great route to have, whether it's cover 2 man or cover 0 with zones. So now they have to say, okay, well, the user has to go guard the post because it's the best route on the play. It's the whole point of running the play in general. And that's where your backside route to Worthy becomes so important. This little return route, because it just spaces over the field well, a lot of times this is your nice late answer in the play. Now, one slight variation that might be a little better for man coverage, and this is primarily just because return routes are just pretty inconsistent this year. You wanted something a little better against man coverage. Specifically, what I would do is I would still have the drag, but I would then take Worthy and put him on a slot fade or just a basic seam streak, and then I would have a stem down in route or something like this. And then you would get this in route, which, as you see, gets a lot more separation against man and just gives you another way to run kind of the same concept and have a little bit more success against man coverage. The main purpose of the play tight end whip is this unique zig route. Basically, these 3 routes on the right side. You got a speed out to the slot that's kind of unique. You got a really more exaggerated tight end zig, and then you have a sharp post to the outside receiver there on the left side. So the way that I like to run the play is very simple. We're going to put a slot fade on our solo receiver, and we're going to put a streak on the running back. Now, the reason for this is going to kind of create a unique type of clear out that is going to do some damage to the short side of the field. So as far as like zone coverage goes, the main read on the play, the main route you want to hit is your tight end route. You'll see that it's an exaggerated zig. It gets into a nice spot. It's very difficult to defend. And what that's going to do is, by having that route right there, that's going to force a shade underneath. And when they shade underneath, this little sharp cutting post is going to get into a really nice spot right there. Now, all of this is going to be contingent on this user in the middle of the field not running to this spot. So the way that we're going to try to get him to not do that is, and we'll just give you an example here, the mid read is kind of the perfect zone to kind of play off of. If he runs to the middle of the field, then your running back will be wide open in that seam. As you see there, the curl flat completely vacates that area, and they have to have a hook to be able to defend that properly. And so if they have, a cover 2, for example, then yeah, cover 2 will do a really good job. However, there's some vulnerability to a cover 2. So the main vulnerability of the cover 2 is the slot fade here. It's a tight throw. It's a throw you're going to have to honestly practice. But what can happen against cover 2, and it depends a little on how they're running it, but what I like about this formation is the slot fade. He'll kind of get on top of that cloud. As you see, you can kind of throw this to the sideline, and Mahomes is kind of selling on the throws here. But we'll see if we can get it. You can kind of like, right when he clears this, you see there's this little window right there to be able to hit this against cover 2. Now, the other element of this is, let me just try to throw it one more time here. So you see there, that is like the throw that you can have against cover 2. The cloud flat, when he presses him, he almost never reacts to the ball. And basically what I would do is freeform this like all the way horizontal. I don't even know that you necessarily need to freeform it, but I just think you just need to get the ball, kind of in this, you might even high point it, but just like right over his head, right there. Like that's where you wanted the throw to go. And when you get that throw to go there, he normally will never animate on that ball. Your receiver normally will have, kind of this unique catch opportunity. As you see here, see how we're kind of putting it in that soft spot of the cover 2 window. So now it's a lot better if they hard flat. So if they hard flat out of a cover 2, then you'll see this is a free, easy completion against cover 2. So it's just one of those routes that I really like to have in my arsenal when I'm playing, somebody that's running a lot of cover 2. And the other element of this is if you wait on this route, what you'll typically happen here is the deep half will actually go to the middle, but he doesn't go there fast enough. So anyway, bottom line is cover 2 is good against this concept on the right because you have the hook, and then the user can kind of use the post. So the main answer for cover 2 is really this right here. Okay, that throw. So anywho, but if they're running like cover 3, and again, the other thing about cover 2 is, guys, is a lot of people sim 4. So you're still going to get this kind of high-low over the middle of the field, and it's still going to be dicey. So anyway, another thing that I did want to say though is sometimes when people play you in U trips, they'll do something like this. They'll have like a quarter, or they'll even have this guy on a third. But if they have him if they don't have him on a deep half, basically, or an outside third, if they don't have either one of those, this slot fade is a touchdown. So it's just worth always looking at. It makes them have to have good coverage integrity, and it's just always worth at least having that on one of your plays. And then by having the running back seam streak, you force them to have a hook zone. Because like let's say they're in cover 4, and they don't, here you see how that hook's there. See how that holds that hook down, and then you could throw that route right there. So anyway, I think this is one of the better combinations that you can call. This does have answers against man coverage as well. So like if you get man coverage, this more exaggerated tight end zig is a lot better against man. So let me show you a little better example of that. But let's say we get like, something like this. And this is also why I like having the slot fade, because the slot fade can be really, really good against man coverage. But you see here, that guy gets open, and then that short post also gets wide open over the middle. Just got to be able to catch it in traffic, but that's another answer for you. So you have kind of your zig, and then your zig, and then you have your tight end route. But boom, right there. It's a good answer from man, and then you have that post. So the slot fade, how to use the slot fade? Well, the main thing is you kind of want to throw him to leverage. So against like cover 0, and again, this will need some practice, but basically you'll see a lot of times he'll just get on top of the corner, and he could be thrown up top if you have a fast receiver there. But in general, another element of this is you can kind of pass lead this. So like, let's say we're playing cover 0 and they shade everybody to the inside. Well, now you'll see here that, kind of throwing this up and to the left, a lot of times he can get over the top there. So anyway, it's just something to look at. And if they switch stick bad, this thing's a touchdown. It just kind of depends a little bit on how they're playing you. But another thing you can do with this is you can smart route it and stem him down. If you want to do that against cover 0, what that does is now you can throw it like a corner route. So what you can do is when he cuts to the outside, just pass lead it outside, and then you've got basically a makeshift corner route. So just some neat ways you could use this slot fade. I do think that this is, of all the plays, this play makes the most sense to have a slot fade on, because it really gives you a next level answer against like cover 2, which is the one thing that can kind of hurt this play a little bit. And we have other answers for cover 2, but yeah, as you see there, you kind of get that nice corner route type of animation on that sideline. Super excited to show you this one. This is Motion MTHB Sluggo, kind of a different variation of a setup. And I love this specifically against cover 4. Really, really good against cover 4, okay? If you're looking to attack cover 4, also good against cover 3 too, but really awesome against cover 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a slot fade on the ISO receiver. We're still going to streak or fade the right side receiver. And then what we're going to do over the middle is we're going to run an angle route to the running back. And then we're going to have the tight end on a post. And if you want to stem the tight end down one time, you certainly can do that. So this is what the play kind of looks like. Now, what we're basically trying to accomplish with the play is we're trying to kind of accomplish like the trips tight end, verticals type of feel, but we're able to do so with this slot fade, which is a really great route because if they run any kind of cover two on us, right? We've probably already, talked about this, but this throw right here is super good out of this formation if it's a cover two. And then also if it's a cover two, the other thing that you have here is you have this sluggo or this seam streak paired with this post. So you're going to put this mid read in a lot of conflict. It's a very difficult cover for the mid read to actually be able to get enough depth to cover this route. And if they are by some miracle able to cover that route, then you're going to be vulnerable over the middle of the field because again, most people in a cover two, they're going to blitz 4 people, right? Most people in this game, they're going to blitz 4 people. And so by putting this running back Texas route on the field now, we have a lot of conflict for them underneath where you can't really cover the tight end and the running back Texas route. As you see, both of them are wide open. So it gives us great answers underneath of the defense, depending on how they want to play. It also gives us a little bit more of a man-to-man answer. For example, let's say, we're playing man coverage and they're playing us in a cover 2 man. Well, not only, and I actually want to show this because in cover 2 man, especially if you have a speedster at your slot receiver position, and because cover 2 man is a shaded down defense, what'll happen is this slot receiver can actually get on top of the defender, and this could be a one-play touchdown against cover 2 man, or at least a big hitter over the top of the defense, assuming again they shade down and assuming you get a step on the man coverage. So that's option A. But option B, let's say you're playing more of a cover 0, kind of conservative type of man-to-man coverage, more of a standard way that people like to play man coverage. Well, this has a lot of answers for that as well. The reason being, because you have your stem down tight end route, which is really good. And then you now have your Texas route, which is a, hallmark way to beat man coverage every single year. So you have a really good man beating capability within this play that gives you options, but also you have great options against cover 2. And then you sure as heck have great options against cover 4, cover 3. So how does this play work against cover 4, cover 3? The way that it works is, and again, obviously they're going to switch stick, but because we have this Texas route and post route over the middle, it's going to kind of keep the defenders in conflict in the middle of the field. If they want to switch stick off, then we can work that middle of the field high and low. But if they don't, against cover 4, what happens a lot, assuming we get enough time in the pocket, you can throw this guy over the top of a cover 4. Now, you're going to need a little bit of protection. But most of the time when people play cover 4 drop on you, they're dropping 8 people. So, assuming that you have enough protection, right, this thing can actually nuke cover 4. And we'll show it to you here. So you see, you're just going to basically freeform this to the left, all the way to the left side. And as you see, that inside quarter basically just disappears. And in the switch stick deal, typically that switch stick could be onto that tight end post. A lot of people, when they see that tight end post, they switch stick to the quarter. That gives you the step you need to hit this seam streak over the top. Because when you're defending this in real time, you might think that this is just a streak or maybe even a stemmed up curl, but it's actually an inverted seam streak that's going to pop you over the top if you fall asleep at the wheel. So anyway, I love that combo against cover 4. And then real quick, like cover 3, I'm just going to run like a basic cover 3 here and kind of give you the simple version of this. So again, in terms of what do we do against cover 3, a couple different options. Number 1, you can hit the seam streak in that little soft spot. I'll show you. You can kind of hit it like right in this little pocket here. This is kind of a bad example. But if they're hard flatting or if they're shading those yellows down, if those yellow zones are not in the way, then you can throw that route. But also what you typically are going to be able to do here, and this is where this tight end crosser becomes a valuable route, or this tight end post, whatever you want to call it. This tight end post becomes a real valuable route because you see how we're able to kind of get space, and then we can just throw this tight end in this spot over here. And that kind of requires their user to be over in that area of the field. Well, then you work your backside high-low between your seam streak and your running back angle route. So a lot of times what I'll end up doing here is hitting this, angle route all the way over here, as you kind of see as we kind of break down the, realistic things that are going to happen in a cover 3. Now, the other thing I was going to show you real quick, just wanted to take a little bit of time here to show the cover 3 hard flat a little bit here. And really what you're I want to just throw this to show you the route. So you'll see that this kind of seam streak, he kind of tops that third, but he can't quite get inside just because of where he's at on the field and where the ball is actually placed. But if it is a true cover three hard flat, again, a lot of people they have their safeties on close and pinch. So this safety would realistically be like over in this area. What you want to look for here, because you have so much over the middle of the field that puts them in conflict, a lot of times you can just snap throw this seam streak. So just basically pass lead him up in that spot. And as you see, if they don't get a good tackle animation, you're going to be able to one play touchdown and cover three just with a seam streak throw. So very good route combination that just breaks down zone coverage in a lot of different ways, and it completely bombs cover four coverage. Motion empty halfback sluggo is probably the best answer you're going to have against cover two in this formation. And that's the main reason why we call this play. Okay, it's not the only thing that this play can beat, but it's the main reason why we would call this play. If someone's running a lot of cover two, especially with a mid-read defender, this is a money route combination for that. So what we're going to do is we are going to simply take the tight end and put him on a post, and we're going to stem him down just like this. What I like to do on the outside is just a fade. I like just keep it very simple, and I'm just going to put a fade out there. I think it's just the best answer, okay? Because it will just do a really good job. Now, could you put a comeback there? Yes, you could totally put a comeback there. But what's nice about the fade is if they try to switch stick to defend this, they're not going to really be able to. So I like putting just the basic fade out there, okay? And then on the back end of the play, couple different things that you could do. But ultimately, if you were asking me, what's the best answer? Honestly think the best answer is a running back table and a return route. Something simple like this. The reason why is because the running back table route will open up pockets to be able to throw this against zone. And then if you wanted to, you could put the running back on an in and have kind of a levels underneath. But I think ultimately this makes the most sense because we don't really have a lot of plays in this offense that really has this running back on a table route. So anyway, being said, the main answer against cover two is going to be this slot kind of seam streak. You'll see that he will actually burn the mid-read defender, and it will typically be just easy pickings. Now, the tight end normally will get actually covered by the mid-read. So what we'll do here is we won't stem him down. Let's actually keep him its default depth. See if this mid-read plays it a little different. And mid-read kind of still does a good job going over there. But as you see, it's just a bad matchup for that mid-read. It's a really hard route for that mid-read to cover. And, ultimately, if they do cover that with the mid-read, there's a lot of other things open. But normally, you see here, he just kind of outruns him. So I would just say it's really hard for that mid-read to cover that much ground, just the way the backpedaling works in this game. It's a super hard cover. If you use like a tight end crosser, you could also do something like this, and you'll kind of get the same result. And that time I actually did a good job because I probably didn't get enough. But what you get when you put the tight end on a post is normally the mid read will take like a false step. So like he'll make one wrong move. Like you'll see how he just takes a little bit of a step there. And then also, like I said, if he covers it perfectly, we could just check it down. Okay, so I like this play a lot. Another thing you could do is the drag. If you wanted to do the drag in the tight end corner, something like this, then you'll see here, drag will also be underneath those yellows if they're not shading, which they can't shade if they want the match from the mid-read. They cannot really shade. So anyway, just something important to kind of keep in mind here is they really can't shade this. And then the other element of this is, really just the backside high-low between the post and the return. But a lot of times this guy will take enough of a false step that this thing just cooks cover two over the top. It's a great read to be able to make. And then as far as the rest of the play, like let's say you get like a shaded down cover four or something like that. Well, now we kind of get into like this is to a degree becomes trip side in. So a lot of times this thing can get open against zone in these little pockets. So as you see there, cover three, cover four hard flat. you're going to have that little seam area because the hook curl has to respect the tight end route. So it kind of has to go there, and then you see that this gets open. That's also why I like the fade more than I like the comeback, because it really pulls that outside quarter, outside third. So anyway, and then the other thing about cover two, we'll just kind of do one little element here. But you also you see this fade route. You can throw this, as you see right there, to the sideline against cover two. So you do have a little bit of an answer against cover two. And then the other one that I was going to talk about just briefly here is cover three cloud. Let's say you get something like this. This is a really rare call against a U-trips, but if they do call this against U-trips, your slot receiver will basically be a touchdown, as you see. So if they ever are calling any kind of cover three cloud or anything like that, it's a great way to be able to attack it. But really, this just gives you a lot of different answers in terms of zone coverage. And then the other thing is with this play, like let's say they give you like, you know, kind of a cover two coverage. They put this guy in the middle third. If they put the guy in the middle third backpedals slower than the mid read. So you'll see how he's super slow getting off the line. This is a touchdown every time if they middle third. So they have to use a mid read. They have to use a mid read, and they have to basically use the stock yellow zones. And so because of those two things, it really makes it where this return route is going to be a great check down, because if the mid read just perfectly covers this, then these little underneath routes are going to be wide open over the middle of the field. To play X curl out of the gun while trips close is a great way to be able to attack the seams, including any kind of cover three defense. So what we're going to do with this design here is I'm just going to set us up into a cover three. Now, typically these safeties are going to kind of be in this general area of the field. And we're going to show you just stock cover three, what you're going to see here. Now, the combo here is we're going to take this tight end route. We're going to stem him down once, and then we're going to streak the slot receiver here, and then we're going to drag our backside receiver. And then you could kind of do whatever with this running back. If you want to block him for additional protection, you can block him for additional protection. If you don't want to block him, you want to leave him on this little quick route. This is kind of like a speed table. You'll see kind of runs super flat and does a decent job. So it's a decent route. You could leave that on the field to be able to attack the left flat, or you could just simply block him, okay? And then what I like to do on this outside receiver is instead of the curl, you could put him on a stemmed up curl, so you could stem him up once, or put him on a comeback, either one. And then, again, what this does is it's going to do a good job of attacking, you know, any kind of cover three style defense. So I'm just going to leave it stock here, and we're just going to show you kind of how it works. But the main read on the play is the tight end against cover three. You'll kind of see he kind of sneaks through the seams and gets into a nice little area of the field. This is also extremely effective for any kind of cover three cloud. So if your opponent wants to run any kind of cover three cloud, this is going to do a really, really nice job. So cover three cloud would look something kind of like this, right? And you're going to be in a pretty good spot here. So stem the tight end down, drag this receiver, and then streak the slot, come back the outside guy like that. If you want to put the running back on, I mean, another great route, you can put the running back on a little running back corner if you want a man coverage speeder. But, you know, anyway, ultimately, I think just blocking him is fine. But effectively, what you're going to see against cover three cloud is that tight end will split those seams. He's going to do a good job of kind of getting in that soft spot of the defense really, really effectively. Now, cover two, this play is not going to typically do a great job. We'll show you why. So main reason is because of the mid read. So you'll see the mid read do a really good job of kind of mid pointing and really being able to defend both. Late in the play, this slot streak will technically be open. We have a better play for cover two in this offense, but this is something that you would want to know. Like the deep half will get pulled by the comeback, and then late in a cover two, the mid read will basically go to the tight end. So you see there late in this play, right? But it's a tight throw, and if you mess it up, it could definitely be an interception. So it is a throw, but it's not like the best, right? So anyway, that being said, if they shade down in a cover two and they don't have a mid read, maybe they're trying to stop some of our other plays and they shade down in a cover two and they don't have a mid read on the field, you see something like this, then yeah, of course, your tight end, is going to do a good job. So anyway, as far as man coverage goes on this, or as far as check down, so let's say they switch stick to let's say they switch stick to the half and kind of run him into position or whatever, and they're in like a cover three. Your backside check down is just this high low between the comeback and the drag. So you say, oh, they kind of usered it. I'm gonna work that backside high low between the comeback right there and the drag. If they are hard flatting, then normally your comeback's gonna be open, and then if they're curl flatting or cloud flatting, then normally your drag underneath here will be wide open right there. So those are kind of the basics in terms of how you could run this play. I'll show you one little variation of a setup that's kind of fun to run against like cover four hard flat or anything like that. It would be this. You could just return route this guy and keep this table route. What'll happen is the table route will pull this guy out, and then that could be thrown right in there. So that's kind of a fun way to, if you want to do something a little different, it's kind of the same play ultimately, but it does have a little bit of nuance. Now, if you get man coverage, this is not the best play in the world for man coverage, okay? There are really two answers. The first answer against man coverage, that's why I was saying, you can put the running back on a corner or something, and that will be an answer against man coverage. But really the answer is the comeback and the drag. So the drag is the main one. You want to hit that against man if they will give it to you, okay? And then that'll force them to hard flat, have to use her underneath, things like that. And that's where we would then want to hit this comeback route, basically right on the cut, boom, against man coverage. For the setup of the play motion corners, we're going to be kind of highlighting this specific little kind of unique route here to the outside trips receiver on the right-hand side. It's kind of a delay route that gets in, really just gets great separation. So what I like to do with this play is we're going to take the solo receiver, we're going to put him on a slot fade, we're going to put the tight end on a crosser just like this. And then what I like to do with this kind of slot receiver here, very simple, we're just going to put him on a flat. And then for the running back, you can honestly just leave him on this angle route, or if you wanted to, you could put him on a flat route as well. But what you're going to see here as this play kind of develops is the zones will basically drift away from this kind of delay route that the circle receiver or the outside trips receiver is actually on here. So what you're getting is you're getting kind of this really unique check down that's really good against zone coverage, and it's just going to get in a very soft spot. It's very difficult to defend this in zone coverage. Even if they shade down their hooks, it's going to be a little bit difficult for them to actually defend this route. You'll see right here, the yellows will kind of fall away from it, and there's this little spot that we can kind of fit this in consistently, really regardless of the coverage. Even cover two, for example, you're going to have a really good opportunity here, and I'll show that. See how this hook curl kind of drifts inside? See how it gets super deep, and then this thing just kind of drifts underneath of it for what's just a great check down route. It's a really nice route. You can throw it against cover three, cover four, cover two, as I just showed. And then here's a shaded down cover two. As you see, the yellow kind of falls away from it there, and there's this little pocket that we can still hit this in. Let me show that in replay, as I do think that this is a pretty significant route. So as you see here, there's this hook curl. See how, because this is such a delayed route, it's just going to fall away, and you can throw this in between the hooks just like that. So it's a very nice route that you can kind of build around on this play, and it just adds answers for a lot of different coverages. Now, that being said, that's going to then force different types of defenses. So like if it's a cover for hard flat or something like that, they're going to have to basically switch stick that route consistently. And because they have to switch stick that route consistently, we can just design a very basic high-low concept here and have, a really nice answer against a lot of coverages. For example, if it's cover four with the cloud flats there, you see that that's going to do a good job. Another combo that is very similar to what I just showed you would be to use a tight end post. The one advantage to using the tight end post is the tight end post will get over the top of a curl flat over there. As you see, kind of get it in that little soft spot over the top of a curl flat. I'm a big believer in the slot fade here on the ISO receiver. It just gives you a nice route. But the stock tight end post can get get into a nice area of the field. Let me actually show one more time. But honestly, most people are not going to curl flat out of their cover four. And if they do, we have some other answers here that we'll talk about. But in general, if I shade this or step this down one, kind of make it like a deep slant, you see how it kind of runs over the top of the cloud. I need to stop freeforming things with Mahomes today. But anyway, so you have that kind of unique post route that just, post or crosser. The crosser I like because the crosser is better against man coverage and the crosser is better against switch stick. The fact that they have to switch stick this backside route makes it so that this post kind of becomes, a pretty good route, as you see right here. I mean, it just gets into just a nice area of the field. So anyway, that being said, if they were to run like a cover two here on the left-hand side, you actually have some cool answers against cover two with this play. So we talked about this a little bit, but it's really just this like simple kind of quick throw right there in that little pocket. It's a tight window throw, but it's actually really good against cover two. It's why I love slot fades from this formation. And then because you have the running back flat route, the running back flat route will do a really good job of kind of pulling that flat off of him quicker. And so you see how that's a little bit more open of a throw than it might be otherwise. So anyway, just a really nice answer against cover two on a play where cover two is, if you had one weakness, it could be the cover two. And you can leave this Texas route. It's actually kind of a unique angle route. It's going to be a little better against man. So, if you want to leave the Texas, you can. As far as man-to-man coverage answers, your main answer in man coverage is going to be your tight end route, whether it's a post, whether it's a crosser. And that's why I was saying, you might, situationally, right, if it looks like it's more of a man coverage look, you might leave this Texas route on there because this Texas route just toasts man coverage. The one thing about this curl route that is really, really, unfortunate is it is good against pretty much every single zone coverage in the game. But if you man it up, it's not as lethal. So you see here, as he's going to go, you see the man coverage, it's going to do a pretty good job, right? You're going to have to wait for him to curl, which takes a long time. Pressure can get in your face at that point. And so at the end of the day, it's not really a read against man coverage. It's more, and this is really more of a play in general that you want to be calling against zone. But it is so good against zone that it'd be crazy not to show that, this route is borderline unguardable against zone coverage. For this setup of the play scat, we're going to be able to attack man coverage well. The whole purpose of scat in general, why would you call it, is because of the short corner route and the seam or the unique wheel route that you have on this left-hand side. So what I like to do in terms of an actual combination and highlighting what I think is best about the play is basically this. So what we're going to do is we are going to have our tight end on, you can kind of do one of two things, right? The first thing you could do is you can put the tight end on a post. You could also put him on a deep in route. So like a super deep stemmed up in route. I like both of them. Okay. I like both of them for different things. I would say the tight end post is a little better against man coverage, but the tight end in route going to be a little bit better at getting over the top of a potential 5-yard yellow zone. Okay. And then we're going to do double drags. So we're going to do a drag on the ISO receiver and a drag on the outside trips receiver. So it kind of looks like this right here. Now, if they're playing you in a more of a man coverage look, I would suggest the tight end on the post. But the spacing doesn't really work great from a zone coverage perspective if you use the post. That's why I like to use the in route if I'm expecting zone coverage. And the in route is just fine for man. It's just the post is a little better against man. So, as I said, the main purpose of this play call is to attack man coverage because we have this really nice short corner route on the slot receiver, and it is very effective against man coverage. So it's our main read on the play. It's the main purpose of why we even call the play to begin with. So we'll be looking for this corner route. You're going to see it cuts the outside. It's going to beat man coverage, and you're just going to, get an easy way to beat man. Now, it does a good job against both press man and off man, shaded man, pretty much any kind of man. I don't like to stem the route. I like to leave it as its default depth here. And I like to just let the route kind of win like it should. And if it wins properly, you're going to have an easy, just quick pop pass out there against man coverage where they're going to have to do certain things. What we're really looking for them to have to do as a result of this play is basically play a cloud flat over there. The reason being is because let's say that they run cover four. Let me go back to a cover four. Let's say we run this cover four and we just run like a stock cover four. So if we just run like a stock cover four, what's going to happen here is these hook curls will back up significantly because we have the tight end kind of pushing the hooks vertically. And then we have this little drag coming underneath of of the route. You also have the corner route. So if you're reading kind of that right side, you're going to see that the corner route will kind of pull the flat defender back, and there'll be a little pocket here to be able to hit these drags underneath. And that was a terrible example. So we'll see if we can show you a little better one here because I got jammed. But typically most people will not actually have a curl flat. Most people are going to have a hard flat, which we're going to talk about why that's helpful in a minute. But basically, as you see, one of these drags is going to be a great read underneath of the zones if they back up like that, okay? So then what you're able to do is that typically forces a shade underneath, and it forces, a 5-yard hook. That's what the drags are for, is they force this kind of shaded down cover 4 type of look. And if you get that, you're going to see that this hard flat actually will not defend this corner route. And because it's a short corner route, you can actually throw this open against zone. It's a tight throw, and with a little bit of practice, you'll be able to kind of master this. But basically, we're just going to throw this kind of down and outside, just like that right there. And as long as we get a good accuracy, we're going to be able to attack cover 4 hard flat, cover 3 hard flat. Any kind of cover 3, cover 4 hard flat, we're going to be able to have a nice answer for with this short corner without a clear out route, which is really, really nice. And, then you're able to kind of put different combos together around it. So you see here's cover 3. And as you see, that outside third's never going to play him. And we're going to get a nice answer that way. So what we're really getting them into, and then if it's cover 2, right? If it's cover 2 and it's a shaded down cover 2, I'm not talking about cloud flats yet. I will talk about that in just a moment. But if it's shade down cover 2 like this, you see again that hard flat comes down. And then this throw actually was a bad pass lead by me. You want to pass lead this away from the defender, not to the defender. So I'll show you that again. And again, some of this comes down to you need a little bit of repetition in terms of, just kind of learning these throws. But this throw right here is really, a nice way to be able to attack the defense. So those are a couple of ways. And what I love about this play is it attacks hard flats because let's say I get a cover 0 look. Well, what are most people going to do in a cover 0 look? They're going to give you 2 hard flats, right? And so because of that, when they do that, you're going to have answers because the hard flat can't really defend this short corner route. It's able to win consistently. So the other thing about man coverage, right, is, anticipating switch stick or different adjustments they might be able to want to do. So typically what we're going to see here is if they do adjust out of a man-to-man shell and they actually defend the corner route, then your post is going to be wide open or your check down drag routes will be wide open over the middle of the field. Either one of them are normally going to be the answer that you need. Whether it's 2-man under, whether it's cover 0, you have just so many answers against man coverage, especially if you use this tight end on a post. There's that cut, and then if that cut doesn't win, one of these drags normally will, if not both of them, underneath the defense. Now, what a lot of people also like to do against man is they like to basically play kind of unique styles of man coverage and can do some different things like that. But generally, this running back flat is kind of a cool flat route. He'll catch it in stride, and a lot of times it's a great little pop pass, specifically for things like cover 0, right? If you get like a cover 0 look, you kind of get them in this weird kind of swap where this running back wheel can just be a really, really good route for you. So you always want to look at that because if you do happen to have them outflanked, you have this running back route. Another thing is, let's say they're not playing hard flats. So if they're not playing hard flats, they're not going to snap down on this route. And so because of that, you'll see that this running back scat route, really good wheel route to be able to attack the cover 4. So if they're ever not playing hard flats for whatever reason, whether it's, cover 2, whether it's cover 4, doesn't really matter. This is going to be a really nice route if they're not playing, if they don't have, hard flats on the field. So you kind of force them to put hard flats on the field by having this play. Whereas, some of the other plays in this offense will take advantage of it when they do play hard flats. So just wanted to highlight that because you see how those curl flats go inside and you see just how clean of a throw that is and how nicely that throw, just kind of gets into areas of the field that are hard to guard. Now, that being said, another thing a lot of people are going to do, like I said, is they're going to play those shaded down yellows, but then they'll do something like this. If you're playing someone that kind of knows what you're doing and maybe you're running a lot of this play, they'll re-put a curl flat out there. So when that happens, that's where this stemmed up tight end in route is really, really good and really valuable. That drag route is not getting low enough for me. And we might need to just leave him on his default route, honestly, because his default route is a little lower than a regular drag. But anyway, what you're looking for here is this tight end route to kind of get over the top of the yellow zones and in front of the deep blues, which then makes it so they have to switch stick there if they want to defend. And so if they switch stick to the sideline, you work the middle of the field. If they switch stick to the middle of the field, then you work the sideline based on how all this kind of plays out. So anyway, this is just one of my favorite plays in general. I think it does a really good job against a variety of different coverages. And it's just one of those plays that I think you should be calling more of. If you're getting a lot of man coverage consistently, this is going to give you consistent answers against that defense. The best red zone play out of the U-Trips formation is motion corners. And the reason this is so good is because of this kind of unique route on the right-hand side. It's going to give us answers against a couple different coverages. And also, it's going to kind of create some problems for them. So first and foremost, what most people are going to do is they're going to shade their coverage underneath and put hard flats on the field. So I'm going to walk you through how this works against a couple coverages, that we'll talk about some of the other things that you might see. So what you're going to do from a setup perspective, you're going to put your slot corner or your slot receiver here on a speed out. You're going to stem him up. Basically, you don't want him to run out of the back of the end zone. So you see here, this would be too deep. You want him just one tick under the back of the end zone. So in this case, I only stem him up one time. Based off where you're at on the field, it might vary a little bit, but generally stem him up one time. Then you're going to have your tight end, and you're going to put him on a crossing route. You're then going to put your ISO receiver on a curl, and really important that you stem that curl all the way down. So this is what the play is going to look like. And the read progression is what we're really looking for, is we're looking at this right side two-man game between this little like arrow route to the outside trips receiver and the speed out. So if they hard flat, what that's going to do is your little arrow route here, it can get open, right? Like right there, you see I'm able to possession catch it and get it, to the end zone. Like it can get open. It's not necessarily like an ideal read, especially if they're shading underneath, especially if they're doing it in a cover two. What you're really looking for is when they shade underneath, what's going to happen is the hard flat is actually going to go to the arrow route when they shade down or when you have a hard flat. So the hard flat goes down. What you're able to do is hit this out route. As you see, it kind of wraps around behind the flat, and now the flat's not really able to make a play on that. And this also applies to a cover two hard flat. So cover two shaded down hard flat, this would apply to, as well as a soft squat, this will apply to. It only route that will guard this out route is a cloud flat. So what you'll see here is I'm going to actually just go to a basic cover two, and you're going to see it's a little different. When I just call a straightforward basic cover two cloud flat, then you're going to see here that this little arrow route still does a good job, but that cloud stays home, as you can see right there. So that's what you got to watch out for. That's a very advanced adjustment that most people won't really do. The only other real adjustment that you're going to get here is you're probably going to get a shaded down cover two with two curl flats, and you should still be okay to hit this out route against that. If we can't hit that, we have other answers, which I'll talk about. But we'll take a look here. As you see, that curl flat did a pretty good job, and he plays that. So those are really like the two main things that you could potentially get that will make this play a little bit worse. But we have answers for that. So if they run, either one of those where they're using cloud flats here, what we have is we have this left side. So this left side here, you're going to have this hitch and the crosser combination, and this will do a really nice job if they're doing something like that. As you'll see, that hitch holds that cloud, and that crosser is able to basically run himself wide open into the back of the end zone. The other thing here is that secondary adjustment was that cover two. And if we ever get this cover two with two purples, then you're going to see here, we'll just kind of let this run a little bit. But typically, you can actually hit this running back. You're just going to playmaker him straight up, and he'll kind of be in that back corner of the end zone. You also have that arrow route coming open, and then the running back will be open late as well. So we'll show that one more time. And let me put the curl out here. And what we should see here is there should be a little window where we can kind of normally you're not going to get drop 8, you're normally going to get drop 7, but there will be a little window where we can hit this. And we can also still hit the tight end, especially if they curl flat both sides. So if they run the cover 2 with curl flats on both sides, your tight end route should still be there for you. And we'll see if we can hit it here, because the running back will pull the yellow down on the left side. And you see there's that little window. Hit that tight end right in that little pocket right there. Okay. So you have answers against, generally how people would defend you. And if it's cover 2 cloud flat like this, your crosser will get open across the field as well. Your out route won't get open. Your arrow route might get open here. So you'll see kind of this little pocket right in that tight window. The yellow zone did a pretty good job there of defending it. But you also have this entire left side that is going to really do a good job of getting open down here in the red zone. So if you need a dot, this is one of my money plays. This right here, that throw is really consistent, really good year over year. And then if they do run any kind of like man coverage, shaded down man coverage or anything like that, that's another reason to have this Texas route, because this Texas route beats man, and then your tight end crosser also beats man. Your speed out can beat man as well. Like right here, you'll see it beats man coverage. You have that right there. And then if they're running like cover 2 man, which honestly is a little better. If you see I think the best man coverage down here in the red zone is cover 2 man with 2 hard flats, and then having like a yellow in the middle of the field or something like that. That's a decent way to play it, with the user being in the middle of the field and then having the two hard flats for any kind of outbreaking route. That'll take care of that outbreaking route, but then the crosser is wide open if we can get a split second to throw it after getting instant A-gap here. But we'll see. The crosser will be there. The running back will be there against man coverage. So it also gives you a couple check down options. If it is man, you kind of have some answers, and that running back is honestly the best one. So this is my go-to money play down here in the red zone. And really the best way for them to honestly defend it is to run cover 2 with 2 purples or a purple on this side. And then really they still have to have a really good user in the middle of the field. If they don't have a good user in the middle of the field, they're not going to really be able to stop this play. But if they do have a good user in the middle of the field, you'll see, that all in all, this will do a pretty decent job. The only thing really open is the crosser late, which they could user that. So then you would need to kind of get out of there, scramble, and make something happen, because they are going to only be sending a couple of people. But it literally breaks down every other coverage they could realistically possibly do. And then you now know what you need to solve for with a variation red zone dot. So the next red zone combination that I like is out of the play Y option wheel. The reason I like Y option wheel down here in the red zone is because it kind of solves for the one thing that they can realistically do that can give us a little bit of trouble. So Y option wheel is what I like to call here. And a couple different ways to run it, but the way that we're going to run it right here is we're going to put this receiver on a flat, motion him across. And I just want to show you kind of where we're going to snap him, and then we'll talk about the rest of the play. But you basically are just going to let him kind of set up, and then you're going to be good to go. And you got that seam wheel right there. So you have the seam wheel. You can try to motion snap him, but the game is kind of finicky with that right now. So just kind of keep that in mind. But I would put this receiver on a flat, and I would motion him out. Then what I would do, and it kind of is up to you how you want to do it, but the main purpose of the play is to break down this coverage right here with the curl flats and the hard flats. You need to be able to beat this coverage, because this is something you can see. So the main way to break this coverage down is really this post route. So all we need to do is kind of hold the user so that we can throw the post is basically what we're looking to do here. So what I like to do with this play is just 2 in routes on this right hand side. So as you see, I put the tight end on an in route, and I put the outside trips receiver on an in route, and then I'm going to motion this flat across. So we get this kind of like unique spacing that is really only true on U trips, really. And what you're going to see here is, number one, your wheel can get open kind of in that back area of the field. And again, I'll try to show that a little better than we were able to right there. And it's primarily because the motion snaps are so weird now. And honestly, if you wanted to do 2 return routes, be my guest. You could do 2 return routes as well. But I really just want to show this, highlight this wheel route, and you'll see it. See how it kind of gets in this unique area of the field. The curl flat is going to get pulled flat by the flat route. And it could be an out route. You don't have to necessarily, it doesn't even, if you don't want to set you don't want to set, you don't have to. And it could also, by the way, you could also motion either one. So what you could also do is like an in route and a return route here. And then you could motion this guy across and put him on an out. So it could be either one of these receivers that you want to motion is all I'm trying to say. Let's see. Let me reset the play. I'll just have to throw. All right. I'm just going to have to throw it away and then reset because the motion kind of went weird. But anyway, I just wanted to highlight this because I do think that this is a great little change-up play from this formation. So in route, return route, and then we're going to put this guy on an out route like this. So, again here, the whole purpose of this setup is to give the cover 2 with 2 purples trouble. And so what you'll see is that this hook zone will go to the middle, the curl flats go outside, and you see there's this little pocket right there to throw that ball. Really nice route. Now, if they're not shading down, they just manually put the curl flats and the hard flats. So the yellow zones are kind of, if you will, on default. Then you're still in a pretty good spot here. What you're going to be looking for in this case is you will take this little seam wheel will still typically get there, but really the route we had was that tight end coming underneath of it. So if the yellow kind of peels back on the running back, then you still have that underneath route. So I just wanted to highlight that. And then the other thing I wanted to show is really just kind of the main thing, which is just how good of a job this play is going to do if they want to run that cover 2. So we're going to pull that cloud to the middle of the field by motioning this guy across, and it can really be either one of them, honestly. But then what you'll see is that this post, he kind of hits that back of the end zone, and then he cuts across the field. Should have thrown it a lot sooner than that. But essentially, when he cuts across, that's going to be the money window. And you don't even necessarily need, like if you wanted to run the play like this, you could run the play like this. Perfectly fine. You could run it just like this right here. Main thing is just that post when it gets to the back of the end zone. As you see, he just gets into a nice soft spot in the back of the end zone. That's really, really good. And it's also really good for the curl flat zone. So if they have these curl flat zones here, you're going to see if I do, just something like this, doesn't have to be too crazy complex, but you just see how the yellow zones, right? We just got to get him kind of in that back corner. I do think that the flat can help on this play if you wanted to run the play without the wheel route. Then by just having this flat route right here and a flat in combination and do it like this, this also could be just fine for this. And you'll see kind of right there, that little pocket that we can hit with this play. So a couple different ways to run it, but ultimately I do think this is really good specifically for that hard flat curl flat combination. And then if you wanted to, you could even run it like this and you see how open that running back gets. And so, another variation while we're here is we could do something like this. If we wanted to really attack that curl flat, hard flat deal, then we could run essentially 2 stemmed up curls. So as you see, stem them to the back of the end zone, have an out route right here to pull the flat defender, have an out route on the left side to pull the flat defender, and now you're literally just choosing who are you going to high point in the back of the end zone, right? Your wheel route gets open back there, and then your 2 curl routes get open back there. So those are different ways to get answers in this formation. Ultimately, I think, really, I still love this one because we can use a flat route. And then, personally, I think if you wanted to, you could put the tight end on a flat or a basic out route or a wheel or something like this as well. But I really like just the 2 in routes or even like a smoke screen and a return route. That's fine. I just think all of these do a really good job at kind of getting at the point of messing with those curl flats. When they start doing that, you kind of have a good answer for that. And this wheel route is really one of the best ones to attack that coverage. The U-Trips offense literally has answers for every single defense that your opponent's going to play. Every single coverage you're going to face. It has answers for pressure. It has answers for just creating amazing, amazing spacing. This formation just as a whole is equipped to really give you an edge and provide to you what I would consider to be just one of the best offenses in all of Madden 26. I want to thank you for taking a look at the breakdown today. And if you're looking to take your game to the next level, make sure that you join our school community. It's only $10. It gets you access to all of our offensive and defensive ebooks for both Madden and for college football. You can sign up for that today by clicking the link down in the description below.